What if I told you that you were not behind in life, but that you were just ascribing meaning to a position in your life that doesn't serve you? A lot of people go through their life feeling as though they are behind. Doesn't matter what they've accomplished, doesn't matter what they've done, doesn't matter what they're doing, doesn't matter where they're going, where they've been, doesn't matter anything. Most people go through their life feeling like they are not supposed to be where they are, that they're supposed to be further along, that they're supposed to have more things figured out, that they're supposed to be this something that they are not. And what we have to understand about this, and I really want to completely reframe all of that for you in your mind, if that makes sense to you, that life doesn't inherently have meaning. And this is why everyone's purpose and everyone's perspective of life is completely different. We all have an objective idea of what our position in life means. And many of us create a disempowering story about where we are in life because we're not inherently meant to be happy. We're not meant to enjoy life. We're designed to try as hard as possible. That's at least if we look from an evolutionary sense. And then if we add on social comparison and these beliefs around what we're supposed to be doing, the conditioning that we are conditioned to believe that we are supposed to know what we want to do and what we're supposed to want to do is supposed to make money. Most people go through life having their passion not be profitable. And so they always feel as though they are not where they're supposed to be. They should have it more figured out. They should be further along. They should have done more by where they're at. And as a 21-year-old who travels the world most days, most months, has had a podcast for about 4 years, speaking with some of the biggest thought leaders on the planet, who became a life coach at 17 years old, there are still some days where I feel behind. There are still some days where I feel like I'm not where I'm supposed to be. And I want to really reframe this for you entirely because when this was reframed to me, it was one of the most powerful things that I recognized. And it really changed the way that I live my life because I think a lot of people are rushing through life, never really experiencing life because they feel they need to get somewhere. They need to become someone. They need to prove themselves. And from childhood, we are asked the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? And so when you don't have that figured out, you go through life trying to figure out who you are, trying to prove yourself, to make it known that you belong. And we have this inherent belief that we need to prove ourselves to become some kind of person, which convinces us that we should know what we want to do and that we're not enough until we know what we want to do or until we have something figured out, or never really, because most people go through life believing that they were never enough, that they never had what they needed to be enough, or they never got to where they wanted to go. If you can understand that life doesn't inherently have meaning and that you can never be behind or ahead without comparison, then you can understand that you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And you'll likely have more compassion for yourself, I would hope. And through that compassion, you will have the drive and excitement to actually make things happen. Because one of the things that I think most people go through life is they degrade themselves for not being where they think they should be. And all that does is make you live through scarcity, a lack mindset. And results don't come from beating yourself up. Results don't come from pushing yourself so hard, at least not sustainable results. They don't come from pushing yourself so hard and telling yourself that you're not worthy. Most people live through that lens and results come from it. But does success come from it? Well, it's really determined by what you define as success, because I think there's a lot of people out there that have created success, but they don't feel successful. And I don't know about you, but for me, I wouldn't define it as success. If I'm doing all the things and I have all the things to consider myself successful, but in myself, I don't feel successful because I worked from a lens of I'm not enough until I achieve XYZ, well, I'm never going to feel like enough because that totem pole, that idea of when I become enough is always going to be pushed further and further because that is the lens that I'm working through. And it wasn't until I recognized this, that I'm always where I'm supposed to be, that life started unfolding exactly how it was supposed to. And life really opened up immensely, and life became so much more enjoyable because I allowed myself to recognize that I can be happy in the pursuit of achieving my goals. I can be enough in pursuit of achieving the person that I want to become. Of course, there's never going to be an endpoint of I get to XYZ and I am enough. There's never going to get to a point where I'm content with where I am, but that doesn't mean that I can't enjoy life in the process. That doesn't mean that I can't accept that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I think just believing that, genuinely, like just believing that you are where you are supposed to be will allow you to not rush through life. Not only will it allow you to not rush through life, but it will allow you to have more compassion for yourself, which will then allow you to take more action for yourself to create the things that you want to in your life. And your goals will probably happen a lot faster if you're able to detach from them, if you're able to recognize that you already are enough, that you've already done enough, that you don't even need to do anything to be enough. Like, even the idea that you have to prove your worth as a person when you are born inherently worthy. Like, you don't have to do anything. Like, when you're born, you're not thinking, am I worthy enough? Am I capable enough? Am I doing enough to become this kind of person? And as you grow up, we just are sold these beliefs and these ideals that we have to do things in order to prove our worth, to prove that we belong. And I've met dozens of 8-figure, 9-figure, like, people set for life that are unhappy at their highest career point. And we don't listen to people at the finish line as humans. We really just want to be further along than yesterday. We don't listen to people that have achieved the thing because, well, we haven't achieved it for ourselves. We can't denounce our desires. We can't tell ourselves, well, I don't need that. But if I want it, I can't really tell myself I don't need it if I want it, because I want to go achieve it. And as humans, we want to do the things that we want to do. So when someone tells you that you don't need X, Y, and Z to achieve happiness or whatever you're looking for, to believe that you are exactly where you're supposed to be, we want to push it away. We don't want to accept it because then that allows us to actually enjoy where we are. That actually allows us to recognize, if I don't have something to go towards to bring me the happiness, I don't really have the motivation to go out and achieve it. If you don't have the assumption that what you want to achieve is going to bring you happiness, you wouldn't pursue it. If you didn't have the assumption that being able to, let's say, if you want to make $10,000 a month, if you didn't say in your brain, in your head, that $10,000 a month is going to make me happier, it's going to give me everything that I need to create the life that I want, if you didn't have that assumption, you wouldn't have the motivation to go out and get it. And so all we're really doing in life is making assumptions about our future, about things that we want, about places that we want to get to, about things we want to do. We're making assumptions about them to give us the motivation to go out and achieve them. But in the process, most people use those assumptions to degrade themselves and to push themselves in a position to live through scarcity and lack until they achieve X, Y, or Z. But that assumption is within our control, because the comparison that drives our current emotional state clearly isn't working for most people in their life. And I think just recognizing that you need to give yourself the compassion for where you are and recognize that you are exactly where you're supposed to be, that there's no place that you can get to. There's no thing that you can do to be where you're supposed to be. There's no accomplishment that you can achieve to recognize that, hey, I'm doing good in life, or I'm achieving the things that I want to achieve. There's no place in life that you're going to get to that you're going to say, wow, I'm content with where I am. Because as humans, we are not meant to just be happy and sit around. We're meant to go and achieve things. But in achievement, we don't have to push ourselves down in order to achieve. We don't have to beat ourselves up in order to accomplish. And I just hope that this reframe for you will completely change the way that you feel about yourself. Because a mindset that I've been living by for a few years now, and I've said a bunch of times in the podcast, is that all that matters is how you feel about yourself when you're by yourself. If you allow yourself to enjoy your own company, to enjoy where you are, and not have to get somewhere in order to feel enough or to feel like you're successful, you will live just a so much more fulfilled life. I know there's a friend of mine that her dad works at a grocery store in Kauai, on Hawaii. And he is one of the happiest people that I have ever met in my entire life, just because he realizes that he doesn't need to have the big mansion along the beach in order to enjoy the beach. He doesn't have to achieve X, Y, and Z to be enough on the island. He just enjoys his island life. And I think a lot of people are trying to prove something to someone else in order to prove to themselves that they're worthy. They're trying to find acceptance in other people to find acceptance within themselves. They're trying to find acceptance in themselves through achievement, when they recognize, once they achieve the thing, that wasn't really the thing that was going to give me the fulfillment that I'm looking for. And I hope that most people start to live out this kind of perspective in their life instead of getting to the end of their life and realizing it then. Because most people go through their life beating themselves up. And I don't think anyone really gets to the end of their life thinking, man, I really wish I beat myself up more. I just think in the world today, we are sold that we need to do something. We have to become something to enjoy our life, to be enough, to be exactly where we're supposed to be. And I hope this perspective shift for you at least reminds you that you're exactly where you are supposed to be. That you don't have to do anything. They don't have to achieve anything. That the assumption that the thing that you want is going to bring you the happiness or give you the relief that you're looking for to finally feel like you're where you belong, that you've done enough, is never going to really bring you that if you're relying on it to bring you it, because that's going to come from within. It's a choice. Every single day, you have to choose to believe that you are exactly where you're supposed to be, that you are enough as you are. You don't have to accomplish or do anything to achieve it. And I hope this perspective shift for you finally gives you that relief that you're looking for from within, not from the outside.